What is up today? I'm happy to share with you the game where Magnus Carlsen shocked the chess world twice within a single game. First with his weird opening choice, and secondly when his opponent played a move which made Carlsen react like this. Okay, let's get to the game. So Carlsen was playing white against Van Foreest playing black, the game from Norway 2022. It's the English opening, which actually turns into the civilian defense with the reversed color. Here, pawn e3, knight f6, Carlsen plays knight c3. So far, all the more or less standard stuff. Again, we're going over the civilian defense basically with the reversed color. But here, instead of any normal development move, Carlsen, strangely enough, played the move queen h5. Which looks exactly weird. All the classical chess books will tell you that you shouldn't develop your queen too early in the game because it will be attacked. It kind of looks like Carlsen is going for, some sort of scholar's checkmate like this against one of the top-level grandmasters, which is absurd, but actually it does have some point. Carlsen simply attacks this pawn on e5, although, using the queen for that is a bit unusual. Anyway, black defends it with knight to c6, and Carlsen plays bishop b5 to renew the threat. Now, because the knight is pinned and can't move, queen takes e5 threat is real. And the threat is completely obvious, but it's not that clear for black how to stop this. Black can't play pawn f6 because, this pawn is pinned, so black can't defend the pawn that way. How else can you defend this pawn? Bishop d6 would be the most standard move to play that, but in this context that will lose this knight on d5. Black can't recapture with the queen because of this bishop. So bishop d6 was not an option, and somehow this weird play of Carlsen confused his opponent, and he didn't find the correct move queen d6, and instead he decided to just give up this pawn and played knight b4, hoping for perhaps for some sort of counterplay. The knight perhaps wants to jump here and fork the king and the rook. Perhaps he was hoping for some sort of counterplay, but Carlsen simply grabbed the pawn, check to the king. Again, the knight is pinned, it cannot move. Therefore, black has to cover the king. Black played bishop e6, and now white still needs to counter this threat of knight to c2 check, and Carlsen simply played queen e4, putting the queen back to safety and also taking control over the square. And basically now white is a pawn up with no real compensation for black, and playing against the world champ, it's never a good idea to play odd chess, so basically white should already be having a winning position. Anyway, the game goes on. Black goes pawn e6, Carlsen drops the bishop back, queen d7, now it's more or less standard stuff. a3, Carlsen wants to push away this active knight. Black played the in-between move pawn f5, counter-attacking the queen, which was a good option to do, because now, since the queen has to keep guarding this square on c2, the only way to do that is to bring the queen all the way back to b1, which is a bit passive, but it's not such a big problem for white, because in the future the queen would be brought back to the game. Now black needs to move this knight away, so black played knight e5, Carlsen plays knight f3, now it's simple development, black castles queenside, and here Carlsen played a move which actually made it a lot more interesting. Normally white would simply castle and enjoy his extra pawn with no real compensation for black, but Carlsen perhaps relaxed a little too early and he played the move pawn b4. Perhaps wanting to maybe push forward b5 and attack black there, or just preparing to fianchetto the bishop here to this long diagonal, which is also nice. And generally speaking, it is all nice, but black found a way to complicate matters and to make the game a lot more exciting. He played a move pawn g5, which is a very interesting way to complicate matters again, because otherwise black is going to go down, so he knows he has nothing to lose, and the best he can try is to, make it a sharp, complicated game. In the real game, Carlsen didn't take on g5, which is probably correct. He simply castled, putting his king to safety. What if white captures this pawn on g5? Well, black prepared a really interesting combo. First they exchange here, and then they play bishop c4. And that puts actually quite a lot of pressure on white. White can't take here on c4, because then, if bishop takes, this fails to queen to d1 checkmate, strangely enough. And if white doesn't take, then it's not that clear what to do. The bishop threatens here, black may play a rook g8 and attack along the g-file. All in all, it becomes quite uncomfortable for white, and that's why Carlsen didn't want to play this position. So after black played g5, Carlsen chosen to simply castle. But now black can push forward with g4 and attack this knight. Carlsen goes knight g5, take an aim at this bishop, and black moves it back. Now white needs to be really careful, because this knight on g5 is nearly trapped. There is no way back for the knight, and black wants to simply play h6 and capture it. Anyway, so far so good. Carlsen plays bishop b2. He's ready to take here, and after that, win the rook over there on h8. That's why black played a symmetric fianchetto move, bishop g7, to cover that diagonal. And now Carlsen plays knight a4. Once again, it kind of starts seeing that Carlsen is in control. He's still a pawn up. The knight is going to go there, hit the queen. If the queen goes away, our queen is attacking this pawn. Seems like, Carlsen is going to win the game soon. But that's another moment where we got to give due credit to black player and his creativity. He found a really deep sacrifice, knight f4, which initially seems to be making no sense at all, because white can simply take the knight, and it doesn't seem that black has anything for the sacrificed knight. But it turns out that things are not that simple. Here, black took here on b2, and it turned out that if white plays a natural recapturing move, which Carlsen didn't do in the game, by the way, but just to show you what could happen, black would play knight d4, and things are getting interesting once again. The knight is attacking here, black's queen is open to attack this knight, black still wants to play h6 and get this knight. Again, white can play this position on, it's not losing for white, but things are getting really, really tricky. And Carlsen didn't want that. That's why let's come back here. After black took here on b2, Carlsen played an in-between move, knight c5. He says, hey, I don't want to defend, I want to attack. This is an in-between move, we're attacking the queen, and when it goes back, we want to capture something. Black took here on d2, and that's the most exciting moment of the game, where I want to challenge you to think about this position and to let me know in the comments below which move would you play here for white. You may actually pause the video, think about it, and write it down in the comments below. Alright, so here's what happens. In the game, Carlsen played the move rook to a2, aiming to, pin the bishop and therefore to grab it on the next move, and white wins. Now, if you found the move rook to a2, then I'm not sure whether to congratulate you or not, because on the one hand, you found the move which was played by the world champ, and that seems to be cool. But on the other hand, that is actually a blunder, because after rook a2, black played the move bishop takes a2, and it turned out that white just blundered the rook in one move, and that's what made Carlsen react like this. Later on, Carlsen commented about this incident in a witty manner by saying that generally, I know how chess pieces move, with some notable exceptions. So Carlsen blundered the move bishop takes a2, and computer's evaluation drops from +2, at this point, before the blunder, to -7 after the blunder. So the thing is, after bishop takes a2, if white recaptures, and black also takes this bishop on e2, and black is simply up a rook with no compensation for white, so that is clearly easily winning. Also, after something like rook d1, black can even checkmate white probably. In the game, Carlsen decided to bite the bullet and to go hard, in the give-up chess, queen takes. After that, he sacked the bishop here. I mean, it's not a sound sacrifice, but white is lost anyway, and he's just trying to take chances. Knight d4, counter-attacking the queen. Queen takes, now black grabs the bishop. Knight takes here, king to a7. I mean, white is trying to complicate matters, but he's down so much material that he can hardly checkmate black with a single knight. And after queen a2, Carlsen finally resigned, because, again, there is no attack, the queen has to drop back, and black wins. So it's nice to see that we're not alone, that sometimes Carlsen plays just like we mere mortals do, blunder, and then goes for unsound sacrifices, and finally resigns, so it's a little bit liberating to see that. Of course, for Magnus Carlsen, this is a huge exception. Usually he plays very well. Actually, I recorded some time ago a video where Carlsen played a really strong opening variation to defeat an Indian Grandmaster in just 10 moves. If you haven't watched that video, you may click over there and check it out right now. Also, if you want to know how to elevate your chess level and become a strong player, then you're welcome to attend my free masterclass by clicking the link over there and get to know how to advance your chess in no time. Thank you very much for watching. Talk soon.